All right, welcome back to it here. Glad to have you on for the conversation here as we head into this new year, of course. A lot of things. We were just talking about the Trump effect, of course, in detail. The Trump effect is real. And it's across this country, and it ripples around the world. You can see this when you're hearing about Hamas getting rid of hostages and Ukraine talking about the end of the war, all these things. The Trump effect, and on cultural issues as well. Nicole Neily is the president of Parents Defending Education. She joins me again. Nicole, nice to have you back on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Look, a new EDU poll shows parents support girls-only spaces in schools. I think any common sense person supports this. They oppose parental exclusion policies, equity grading, and the idea that men should be participating in girls' or women's sports. Look, this would be soundly rejected in any of the deep blue states if you had the guts to put it on the ballot, but they don't, of course. They just want to ram these strange and twisted policies down our throats without discussion. So the Trump effect will be in full effect here as these sorts of things get pushed out of the way. We're not going to have this conversation a couple of years from now any further, I don't believe. What say you?
I hope so. I mean, it's been really interesting to watch the activists sort of retrench. I mean, we're already seeing as these DEI bans have taken effect in different states, these departments are renaming themselves the belonging department, justice. It sounds all very benign. And so I think we're going to be in cleanup mode for the next 4 years and just trying to bird dog where these guys go to, because, this is the racial spoils system, the gender badness. These are hills that they're going to die on. And so it's going to be incumbent on us to chase them both in the court of public opinion as well as in the court of law.
Absolutely. And when you say in the court of law, let's focus on that for a second, Nicole, because the Democrats, I mean, half their life is taking people they don't like or policies they don't like to court. And now the tables have been flipped in many ways. And we on the right have said, okay, lawfare works. We're going to make sure it works to our advantage. What do you mean when you say take them to court? What are you going to do?
Well, certainly, right now we still have open Title IX litigation to strike down Biden's unconstitutional, illegal Title IX rewrite that totally, redefined the meaning of the word sex. But I think beyond that, we have seen districts that have tried to sacrifice the First Amendment on the altar of Title IX, forcing children to use pronouns, things like that. This stuff is not going to disappear overnight. And I think what we see from some of these activists and some of these politicians is the mindset they can't sue us all. And there will have to be major decisions coming out of federal appellate courts that will bind, broad swaths of the country. And things will have to get to the Supreme Court as well, because, I think, the monetary damages will scare people. People being dragged before, depositions is going to scare them. But to really send a clear message, to all of these actors, if you legally discriminate on the basis of race or sex, immutable characteristics, if you treat children differently on the basis of that, there will be consequences, full stop.
One of the places that's been a bellwether for this for the past several years is the state of Virginia, of course. Glenn Youngkin became the governor on the strength of parental rights. Parental rights are a really important political area right now. Political muscle of parents is important. And we're going to find out this year as people in Virginia once again go back to the polls to select their next governor. Plus, we have a couple of special elections there. How important do you think that is? I mean, that was a case study in parental rights and parents standing up and saying, no, we're not doing this anymore. And I think it's been taken across the country. How important are those cases, and how important is it for others to say, hey, look, if they can win there, we can win where we are? I mean, that's pretty critical.
It is. It's super critical. And one thing that we have been really concerned about for the past several years is just watching a lot of these parent activists get burned out. It's really hard when you come off the sidelines, you have seen what your kids are reading and you go to the school board in good faith and say, I have real concerns. And then suddenly you're called a racist, a xenophobe, a transphobe, children aren't friends with your children because of that. You're not invited to parties anymore. I think people have been really surprised to be canceled over things that they have, engaged in the public sphere in good space. And so when Governor Youngkin won, when there have been these court victories or policies that have been overturned, superintendents fired, it's been a real morale boost for a lot of these activists. Many of whom are doing this, they're volunteers. They're doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. And so when things happen, like when Governor Youngkin won, it really shows, look, my voice matters, my engagement matters. And we try and tell those stories on a regular basis so that people don't lose heart. Because strangely, CNN and MSNBC just don't talk about the stories when parents win. They only like to talk about when the government gets to stomp on the little guy. And so we are trying to just remind people your engagement has and will continue to make a difference. And I'm so thankful that we'll have a White House that actually cares about parents' voices finally.
Yeah, you know, and you did some polling here recently I'd like to touch on real quickly. You found that 77% of parents support a U.S. Department of Education that allows states to have more flexibility. Not these rigid standards that come out of D.C. that don't know what it's like in Maine or Massachusetts or Montana because they're so diverse, right? So this is an important finding, isn't it?
Absolutely. We know he who pays the piper calls the tune. These federal grants, this money always comes with strings. I mean, we watched the Biden administration literally try and take food out of the mouths of poor children to blackmail school districts into adopting their Title IX interpretation through the school lunch program. I mean, how immoral, how reprehensible can you get when you say, you know what, you have to let the boys in the girls' bathrooms or else poor kids can't have food? I mean, to get away from something like that and allow states and localities to have the flexibility to say, these are our values, this is how we want to spend the money. We know what our communities need more than Washington does. I think it's absolute common sense.
Yeah, two more things I'd like to get to here. Number one, 75% of parents oppose teachers, counselors, school nurses, classroom aides, coaches, and whomever else from withholding information about a child's identity when it comes to gender from parents. I thought the number would be higher, but 75% is a supermajority, and that's pretty clear. Tell the parents what's going on with their kid when they're at school.
With the Trump administration coming in, you know, we have states like California that have outlawed parental notification. In New Jersey, they have sued school districts that have said parents have a right to know this information. And so to have the federal government come in and be unequivocal, I think is going to be, you know, a breath of fresh air for some of these blue states where, you know, they don't have a prayer that Sacramento is going to care what they want, that Honolulu, you know, that these state capitals are going to actually reflect the wills of their communities. Because in so many of these states, you know, policy is being driven by a small cadre of absolutely ideologically motivated progressive activists.
Yeah, you know, and the last one here, 91% of parents agree that school districts should be required to disclose when they accept money from foreign governments. I didn't realize my local school district was taking cash from the CCP, but apparently they could be, and I'd be none the wiser.
It's astonishing. Yeah, we did a big investigation into this last year. We found 143 districts across the country that had taken money from the CCP, teachers, curriculum, things like that. People should know so that they can make informed decisions. Do I want my child being taught about China? Yes. Do I want them to know everything, including Tiananmen, Tibet, and Taiwan? Absolutely. And if I have a Communist Party apparatchik who is not teaching those things, I don't want my child in that class, period. But people need to know so that they can make decisions that reflect their family's values.
Nicole Neily, greatly appreciate you being here because you're always the tip of the spear out there, finding out what's going on and defending parents' rights again. Becoming more important, and this is all part of the Trump effect, I believe, across this country as we take control of different parts of our country once again. Nicole, thank you so much for being here.